order. Carla, please call the roll.
Novick,
Here.
Fritz,
Here.
Fish,
Here.
Hales, Saltzman.
Here. Before we begin, I'll just read a brief comments on the conduct of our meetings. The purpose of council meetings is the orderly consideration of the public's business. Preservation of order and decorum is necessary for due consideration of matters before council. The public is welcome to attend council meetings. During the meeting, there will be time-limited opportunities for public comment on various agenda items. Although citizens can sign up for communications, public testimony on a council calendar item must address the matter being considered. Please state your name for the record. We do not need your address. If you are a lobbyist, please disclose that information at the start of your testimony. If you are here representing an organization, I ask that you also please disclose that as well. And unless otherwise informed, each person will have 3 minutes to speak in front of council. At 2.5 minutes, you'll hear a beep and the light will flash on the box before you. At 3 minutes, you'll hear 4 beeps and the lights will flash, and that will be the time for the next person to speak. I ask that you respect the time limits so that there's time to hear from each person who has signed up to speak. If you have handouts, please give those to the council clerk and she will distribute them to us. Please testify only to the matter at hand. Council rules of procedure seek to preserve the public order and to ensure that council's deliberations proceed efficiently and that all who want to participate get to be heard. Conduct that disrupts the meeting, for example, shouting during other people's presentations or interrupting testimony or council deliberations, will not be allowed. Please show your support or displeasure with your hands, like thumbs up, thumbs down, or waving your hands. This is a warning that anyone disrupting the proceeding may be escorted from council chambers and excluded from City Hall. Okay, with that, we will move to our first communication item, item 890.
Request of David Keefe Davis to address council regarding war on cop watchers by the police and the city.
Welcome, Mr. Davis. Just give us your name and you have 3 minutes.
So my name is David Keefe Davis with Multnomah County Cop Watch, and I'm coming here today to talk about the war on cop watchers, police accountability activists, journalists, and other people who document the police in Portland, and also the fact that you're trying to close city meetings like the CRC, Police Accountability Board meetings, to make it closed to the public and the media, so these meetings will just take place with police in closed rooms. And I was arrested here at City Hall on November 25th, and I'm wondering when you guys are actually gonna give the surveillance footage to my lawyer. We've repeatedly requested that. And I had charges that were falsified against me by security people and the police. And this was during the arrest of Barry Joe Stull. And I'm wondering when I'm actually gonna get these surveillance tapes. And, you know, if you guys can't even provide surveillance footage for an arrest that occurred in City Hall of a cop watcher that was filming someone getting arrested, Barry Joe Stull, how are we going to trust you guys as city council people to, you know, not want to have meetings in closed rooms and make police accountability less transparent, you know, when you guys are covering up an arrest that happened at City Hall. You know? This is ridiculous, actually, you know? This intentional deception that's going on. You guys are intentionally deceiving the public by saying that you care about police accountability, because there's obviously no accountability right here at City Hall when you guys are covering up an arrest that happened here, and then you won't even provide the evidence to my lawyer. And this is something that happened in November, you know? And I brought this flag today too to show you. This is the thin blue line flag. It's the gang colors of the police. Right here. This is the militarization and the takeover of the police. And this is their gang colors.
Okay, thank you,
You
Mr.
can see
Davis.
that
Your
this-
time is up.
Is a total desecration to the real flag and the real country, and this is just like a representation of the armed takeover of America by the police.
Okay, thank you very much.
And you guys are part of that armed takeover.
Okay, thank you. Could you read item 891, please?
Request of Matthew Sanders to address council regarding passing ordinances to put limits on door-to-door solicitors.
Welcome. If you just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes. Oh, did we skip 891?
We did, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry about
That
that.
was an oversight.
Okay, you're next. Sorry about that. 891.
Sorry. Sorry, 891, request of Lightning Watchdog PDX to address council regarding lightning strikes disrupt city foreclosures.
Rules and regulations. Don't tell me you can skip people like that.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Lightning. Just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Watchdog PDX. Again, I'm going to talk on the foreclosure issue here, is that, as you know, the city of Portland hasn't done foreclosures for over 20-plus years. They're beginning to do that now. In my opinion, they're focusing on the most distressed, the most vulnerable, people with mental illness, senior citizens, and now they're beginning to use nuisance liens after they probably had discussions with them and said, hey, we're not going to foreclose on your properties. We haven't done that in the last 25 years on these nuisance liens. When you sell your property, pay us off, we're probably all good. Now they're coming in very aggressive, trying to take their properties away from them. And also, they're even in discussions with nonprofits to hand these properties over to these nonprofits, thinking this is some humanitarian endeavor. No, it's about greed of the city, not taking care of the most distressed people in this city that are currently losing their homes. They're using nuisance liens to run up these liens in excess on some of these properties of over $100,000. There are people out in this city that have fled their properties, left their properties. They have had their properties boarded up because they are in fear of the code enforcement thugs of the city of Portland who think they have a right to enter their properties, board them up, and then foreclose on them and take their equity away from them also. This will be stopped. This is being challenged right now on bankers that have come in and put locks on people's doors before they have foreclosed. There are class action suits starting in Seattle at this time just based upon that issue. There will be class action suits brought against the city of Portland for boarding these houses up when they don't own these houses and making the owners flee because they are afraid of the code enforcement thugs and the police that they bring along their sides when they come in and take these properties out from under them. This will be stopped. This will be challenged. This will end up in a class action suit. Instead, in the past, you used to be reasonable and say, hey, we'll work with you on this. Hey, we'll give you time. But you've decided to change, and guess what? You can end up with a class action suit on you bigger than you've ever had at the city of Portland for trying to step on the most distressed, the most vulnerable people out in the city potentially losing their homes because you think it's the right thing to do. Well, guess what? It's not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could read item 892.
Request of Shedrick J. Wilkins to address council regarding Captain Kirk and M5 computer.
I just want to, I'm Shedrick Wilkins, just quote Steve Novik's like Star Trek in the Park. There's a great episode of Star Trek one time where Captain Kirk is supposed to be replaced by a computer. And Mr. Spock points out that computers don't judge Captain. And then Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy, as an actor, it's a 1968 episode, says, "Machines make excellent servants, but I have no desire to serve under one." And this is great for an NBC television show, which was up against Earl Roddenberry. And this is why they still make Star Trek 3, the movie. Great lines. I don't take orders from a machine. They're servants, and that's it. And a lot of judgment. One of my judgments is community colleges are better than the university. Just my judgment. Maybe sometimes that's not true, but it's just judgment. I do have a plan. I am to run for Mount Herndon Community College School Board, even though, and I've learned a lot of skills of how to talk in public here. 5 years ago, I had a fear of talking in public, and I like it when people interrupt you like Commissioner Fritz, because it's like you're not sitting there going like this. I like, well, you're paying attention when I say something ridiculous. You cut me off. And I did not take any speech courses at PSU. So, but I'm out of zone. I'm near the train station, but I have a sneaky plan like Captain Kirk to maybe find a girlfriend that lives in the Mount Hood Community College School Board zone. And then kind of like use her address. So maybe that will work. I know Mayor Ailes lived in Vancouver when he ran in 2012. So if he can do it, I can do it, We'll see what happens. I just love the campus out there. I kind of think, too, that the Bull Run water and the power of the Mount Hood and the hydroelectric dams that are the power of the Rocky Mountains make electricity for Portland. And the community college teaches how to fix those kind of machines that make the fresh water here and the electricity. And also, I like the bottle thing. We have a thing now. I put my cans in 122nd Gleason, and they counted the cans. I didn't have to put them in the machine. And then about a day later, it comes into this account, so I had $3. They were supposed to build a recycling thing downtown here, but they didn't do it, so I went out to 122nd Gleason. I also stopped into the Hanson shelter and said I could be a volunteer. So it looks good if I do run for a community college school board that I'm a volunteer in a homeless shelter. I like the fact that you have women, and it's not as religious. I stayed at City Team Ministries when I was homeless 5 years ago, and I had to go to a mandatory Christian service, but not that Jesus is a bad person, but I'm glad the Hanson shelter is not religious, and they do have women.
Thank you. 893, please.
Request of Matthew Sanders to address council regarding passing ordinances to put limits on door-to-door solicitors.
Welcome. If you could just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Matthew Sanders. My family and I are residents of the Mount Scott Arleta neighborhood, and I'd like to talk to the council today about my experience living in a city that does not regulate door-to-door canvassers, proselytizers, or solicitors in any way, shape, or form, and how that kind of affects the most vulnerable citizens that live around us. My wife and I have a son named Ned. He has a sensory disorder. It's very low on the autism spectrum. It's a very mild condition, but it does affect how he sees and feels the world. This disorder intensifies everything that he experiences. So when we have someone that comes to our door unexpectedly and we can't prepare him for that, he becomes emotionally dysregulated. Things get a little chaotic around the house when something like that happens. Each interaction turns my son's anxiety up to 11. When a door-to-door solicitor comes to our door, this leads my son's anxiety and emotional dysregulation to spike. In turn, typically, solicitors come to our door in the evening. He doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he has nightmares, he has horrible anxiety, and that leads our entire family for days on end to feel the ramifications of that. We have a no soliciting, no proselytizing, and no campaigning sign, which is often ignored. Many of these door-to-door solicitors smugly tell us the same thing over and over again. What they're doing is perfectly legal, and this is absolutely true. Portland, unlike many of the other municipalities in the Portland metro area, has no regulation whatsoever on door-to-door solicitors and how they can operate. There are no times of operation when door-to-door solicitors can operate. There are no legal requirements that solicitors must obey posted signage. There are no opt-out lists that solicitors must adhere to. The citizens of Portland have legitimate and tangible reasons for not wanting a door-to-door solicitor to approach their home. And other municipalities in the area have taken steps to allow their citizens to control that. My family's really lucky. My son's disorder is actually fairly mild in the grand scheme of autism spectrum disorders. He's getting better all the time with medical and therapeutic interventions, but there are many folks who don't have it as easy in our city. There are lots of people who have extreme cases of autism, folks with intense anxiety disorders, numbers of individuals of all stripes suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. These problems affect just about anyone. They deserve to be, sorry.
You have 30 seconds.
Yep. I've given you guys some municipal regulations of other municipalities right here in Oregon and across the US that Portland could use as a model for this kind of regulation. It's my personal view that it's the government's job to protect the smallest of us, and my son Ned is one of those. There are many in the city who need that protection even more, and I believe that there need to be clear ordinances put in place to limit solicitation door to door.
Mr. Sanders, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
You said that you've included some material, so is that a handout we've received?
I believe so.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, it's right here.
It hasn't migrated down, so you've given us a handout with some other, and, each of us at election time spend time going door to door.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. When you come to a home that says no solicitation, it's clearly marked, we try to honor that. Sometimes people put mean-looking dogs in their front yards, too. That has a somewhat deterrent effect.
Yes.
I actually, until you spoke today, I hadn't thought about the impact on people's health.
Yeah.
And there's another piece of this that I'm concerned about, which is the kinds of fraud that's going on and the scamming.
Absolutely.
It's getting pretty sophisticated, and people showing up on your door with some scam.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern is that there are particularly older adults, maybe in our community, that could be taken advantage of by someone posing as something. And I had someone call me recently posing as a Multnomah County Sheriff, asking for my personal information in order to be able to tell me about some service of process that had to be made on me. And it turned out this was someone who had appropriated the name of someone in the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and it was a scam that was happening all over the city. That's pretty brazen.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll take a look thank you for the material. We'll take a look, and at least for me, you've highlighted an issue I hadn't really thought about in terms of the health impacts, and I think it's something we should ponder. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, if you could read 895.
894,
Oh, 894, sorry.
request of Yachio Iasako to address council regarding Portland State University Center for Public Service and Tokyo Foundation Japanese Local Government Managers Training Program.
Welcome. If you could just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Masami Nishishiba. I'm a faculty at the Center for Public Service at Portland State University. We are here to thank the support of the City of Portland to the Japanese Local Government Managers Program that we have been offering the last 13 years. This year, we have 25 Japanese municipal government mid-level managers attending our program. They arrive on July 30th and stay till August 6th. With me here is Ms. Suzuki Mari and Mr. Akarishi. He represents the participants. She represents the Tokyo Foundation that sponsors the program.
Honorable Commissioners and members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mari Suzuki, Director for Leadership Development of the Tokyo Foundation, nonprofit independent think tank that carries out a training program for Japanese municipal officers with the support of the Center for Public Service, PSU's Hatfield School of Government. Just as Rio is the destination for all top athletes from all around the world, Portland is the destination for people striving to achieve successful community building through citizen participation. And it's a great honor for us to be here at the council meeting today, because this fall represents the spirit of citizen participation. And I'm grateful for your generous support for the program over the past 13 years. And I'm sure the Japanese participants will treasure this experience today and boost their commitment to serve for the respective communities. Thank you.
Right. My name is Nozomu Akaishi. We're from Japan to learn about Portland's community involvement and development. I'm from Mizuho Town in Tokyo Metropolis. There are 34,000 people living in Mizuho, and 60 of them are in the city council. Here in the city of Portland, there are only 5 commissioners for around 600,000 people, which is very different from my town. The relationship between the members of the city council administration and the residents here feels closer compared to how things are in Japan. In an effort to learn about that difference, we believe the hint lies with involvement from the community. We're here today with the hopes that this meeting will help us learn about each other. Thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Following our Japanese tradition, the group brought gifts for each one of you. So I want to invite people to present the gifts to the commission.
Sure, yeah. You want to take a picture?
Sure.
Okay, well, why doesn't the visitors come on up and we'll do a photo?
写真を一緒に撮らせてくださるそうです。ギフトをあげるはずは前に出てきてギフトをあげてください。
Get everybody in a picture.
Okay, we'll now take up our consent agenda. And I've had one request to remove or to pull item 899. Are there any other items on the consent calendar that anybody wishes to pull for consideration? Okay, great. Then we'll move on to our,
Let's vote.
oh yeah, let's vote on the consent agenda.
Novick,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Fish,
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to our regular agenda, item 904.
904, accept and appropriate a grant in the amount of $125,000 and authorize an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation, Transportation Safety Division for the 2016 Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program for motor carrier safety inspections by the Police Bureau traffic sworn personnel.
You're going to talk to us about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just give us your name and
Good
take
morning.
it away.
I'm Neil Glasky. I'm a Portland police officer assigned to the traffic division. I've been a police officer for 21 years, 13 of them being at Portland, and I'm currently one of the certified truck inspectors for the city of Portland. Every year, Oregon Department of Transportation is required to develop an annual commercial motor vehicle safety plan. And part of that plan this year is the Portland Police Bureau has been awarded $125,000 to be used until July 1st, 2017 to enforce commercial motor vehicle safety laws. This grant will allow us to expand our truck inspections to concentrate on safety violations from commercial motor vehicles. Our current inspection ratio is we're placing approximately 43% of the trucks out of service that we inspect. And as of October 1st, 2016, the Traffic Division has conducted 186 truck inspections with approximately 81 of those placed out of service. Along with the truck inspections, the grant will cover costs incurred by the Portland Police Bureau, including our wages and any other expenses incurred from this truck inspection grant.
Thank you. Questions?
Obviously, this is a very important function that the Police Bureau is doing. We've also heard that we're really stretched and the officers are already working a lot of overtime. How does this fit in with the current staffing problems in the Police Bureau?
Yes, ma'am. This will be done outside of our normal work hours, and each truck inspector is required to do an annual inspection of 32 inspections. So this is something that will be part of the requirement as it is.
Won't that stop our officers from working overtime on something else?
Not necessarily, ma'am. With our current staffing shortage, like I said, we have 13 truck inspectors. We're all required to do the inspections annually. So this will just enable us to do it at the with the state reimbursing us the cost.
Do the 13, is that all they work on, is the truck inspections?
No, ma'am. We also do other traffic-related enforcement, our normal daily job functions, crashes, DUIs, traffic enforcement, major crash team.
Thank you.
Officer, did I understand you to say that over 40% of the trucks that you inspect get taken out of service?
Yes, sir.
And could you just give us a sense of what are some of the most common violations that you uncover?
A lot of the violations that we cover are related to the truck themselves. It could be anything from the lack of tread on a tire to the breakaway switches on the external brakes for the trailer. We also have several drivers that are placed out of service every year for working over their logbook hour requirements. And we have several other safety violations like lighting on trucks. We've stopped several trucks this year that actually have no taillights or brake lights, which is a huge safety factor because with traffic traveling behind these large 80,000-pound trucks, there's no warning that the truck is coming to a stop.
And is it possible to generalize as between trucks that have an Oregon license and trucks that have a license from another state?
We're seeing the same ratio among all of these trucks, even from Oregon and out of state. Several of the trucks that we stop are actually interstate trucks that travel through the area, and we're finding the same violations.
Thank you very much.
So you operate on the interstate system, I take it, like?
Yes, sir.
Interstate 5, Interstate 84?
Yes, sir, and this grant also covers all public highways within the city of Portland, so we do quite a bit on surface streets also.
Do you actually pull over at random trucks, or how does that work that you get to go look for the tire tread and such?
We are required to stop a truck when we have an actual violation. We cannot randomly just pull over a truck that we see. We have to have some type of safety violation, such as speeding, lack of required lighting, no seatbelt. We even get several truck drivers, it might be hard to believe, but several of them are actually using their cell phone while they're driving, distracted driving.
Thank you very much for your work.
Yes, yeah, thank you for your work, thank you. Okay, does anybody wish to testify on this item?
Yes, we had a request.
Okay, you can go ahead and have a seat, Officer Class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, if you could just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Robert West. I'm with From the Police 911. And we have several agencies that have these truck inspections. There's weight stations, there's the state police, the sheriffs. And they're sitting there saying that the officer's going to have their time and then they're going to do the truck inspection as overtime. And we're short on police officers as it is. We shouldn't be giving these officers overtime when the city police are sitting there saying, well, we can't give pay raises. We don't have enough officers. I think we should staff what we have and let the state and the counties do it. We don't get any money from the fines that they're issuing.
Sir, this ordinance provides that the state will give us $125,000 to cover the cost. Do you have a comment about that? So
Yes,
they're in effect reimbursing us for that cost.
Right. I don't think the Portland Police Traffic Division should be doing the truck stops.
Okay.
They have broken down cars on. You see regular police units, prowl or whatever you call them, handling those. When actually it should be a vehicle broke down, it should be a traffic officer and stuff. Like I said, we're really short. I hate to see the officers do overtime, when we're so short on officers as it is. And the police sat there and said the officers are stressed out because of how much overtime they're doing now, because they don't have the officers do what they need to do. So that's what I wanted to bring up.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, this is an emergency ordinance because a delay would jeopardize the awarding of the grant funds from the Oregon Department of Transportation. Carla, please call the roll.
Novick,
Aye.
Fritz.
Thank you very much for this important work. First of all, I trust the police chief that this is a good use of overtime. And second, the 40% failure rate certainly, and also that the truck has to have done something wrong in the first place to be stopped, shows that this is really a crucial safety issue that we want to work towards Vision Zero, so it will. Aye.
Fish.
I'm glad Commissioner Fritz said that because this makes our streets safer for everybody, for pedestrians, for bikers, and for people in automobiles. And we have a long way to go to make our roads safer. And that's why we are, as a council, foursquare behind Commissioner Novick's Vision Zero campaign. Aye.
Saltzman.
Thank you for bringing this grant forward, and thank you for your work. It is indeed disturbing to hear so many trucks are taken out of service. Aye. Okay, the ordinance is approved, and we'll move on to item 905.
Extend contracts with Veteran Government Services and Comstructure Consulting LLC for 3 years and increase not to exceed amount by $3 million for each contract to provide telecommunication services.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioner Saltzman, members of City Council. For the record, I'm Jeff Baer. I'm the Director of the Bureau of Technology Services. And with me today is Beth Fox, who is our Communications Division Manager, who manages these two contracts. We're seeking authorization to extend two existing contracts. One is with Veteran Government Services for additional 3 years, and also Comstructure Consulting for additional 3 years. These are critical services that we have and are performing related to both of our ads, moves, and changes with regard to telephone systems, and also our fiber build related to the ERNI system that we have, as we have multiple public agency partners throughout the county that use these services. So these are existing contracts. We're asking to extend them. Part of the reason for extending them for the 3-year time period is that with the Portland Building and Reconstruction Project starting to ramp up, it's really deploying some of our resources towards that effort. We wanted to have these contracts in place over that period of time that bridges that gap so that we have these services in place while we go through and move and use these services as a result. Beth is here for specific technical questions related to some of the services, if there are any. I do need to make one correction
in the ordinance. It does state in the title that it's $3 million for each contract. It's actually a total of $3 million. So we are seeking authorization for Veteran Government Services for a $2.5 million extension and ComStructure for a total of $500,000 for a combined total of $3 million. So it's not $3 million each, which is what the title implies.
Okay,
So I move that amendment.
okay, it's been moved to,
Second.
okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oops. Okay, amendment's adopted. Did you want to add anything, Ms. Fox? Or
Only if you have questions for me. I'd
Okay.
be happy to answer any.
any questions? Okay, thank you both.
Thank you.
Does anybody wish to testify on item 905? Okay, seeing none, this is an emergency ordinance because the contracts will need to be in force and effect during the Portland Building Reconstruction Project. So, Carla, please call the roll.
Novick,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Fish,
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Okay, the ordinance is approved. Item 906.
Pay claim of Tiffany Eggleton in the sum of $15,000 involving the Police Bureau.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jim Rice. I'm a Deputy City Attorney. I was assigned a case to work on, and it involved a woman who had two names. Actually, her name was Tiffany Lynn Wilson, and her present name is Tiffany Eggleton. There was a different Tiffany Wilson in Jefferson County. She committed theft, and a warrant was issued in her name. Jefferson County made a string of errors. They attached Tiffany Eggleton and/or Tiffany Wilson's identification, her social security number, her LEDS number, her ID numbers. And in Portland, Oregon, 2 police officers were going to assist Tiffany Eggleton with a child dispute issue. On the way out, they were notified there's a warrant on her behalf. So they met her at the scene and they talked to her about the warrant. She said it's the wrong person. She had identification in both names. And to resolve the problem, what they do, they would take her to the Multnomah County Jail and fingerprint her. And the fingerprints would, in fact, then identify was it the correct person or not. Unfortunately, our Tiffany Lynn Wilson Eggleton had been in the criminal justice system, so the fingerprints matched. She was put into the Multnomah County Detention Center to be transported to Jefferson County. They do that once a week. She had just missed what I'll call the van or the bus, or however they transport them. So she spent a week in the Multnomah County Jail. She told the jailers, it is the wrong person. One of our detectives became involved in this because he knew her on this child support issue matter. And he actually called out to Jefferson County trying to find out, is this the correct person? And one way to do that would be to get the photograph of the person from Jefferson County and look at the photograph of our individual here. Unfortunately, Jefferson County didn't have a photograph. So she spent a week in the Multnomah County Jail. Multnomah County did not release her. Jefferson County wouldn't allow her to be bailed out. And then she was transported to Jefferson County. Our Portland police officers' notification to Jefferson County was such they were prepared to immediately look into, is this or is this not the correct person? They came to the determination it was the wrong person, and what they did was they drove her essentially home back to Portland, Oregon. She sued, or her lawyer, I should say, sued Jefferson County, the prime defendant who really made this string of errors. Multnomah County, because they kept her in jail for a solid week and never really determined is this or is this not the correct person, and additionally the Portland police for arresting her out on the street. Day one I got this case, I said someone was wrongfully arrested here and we need to try and mediate this thing immediately, and I became the moving force to get that done. It took a while, but we were fortunate to get former Oregon Supreme Court Justice Susan Leeson involved in the matter. We held a mediation. It wasn't quite resolved, but shortly thereafter we came to a conclusion of the matter. Multnomah County is paying a significantly larger amount than we are. Jefferson County to date, I don't believe has paid anything at all. And we came up with a number of $15,000 to try and resolve this matter. If this matter went to trial, I think we'd either get a defense verdict or perhaps we would get 10% liability in this scale of fault if we were to look at. We were the small fish in this matter. And she's asking for $300,000. So if we were subject to a 10% amount, that would be approximately $30,000. We also really don't want to put this woman through a trial unnecessarily. It was easy actually to work with her and her lawyer ultimately. Becky Chow from Risk Management spent a lot of time on this case, and we came up with a $15,000 award for her. So we would, in a sense, be removed from the case. She would get that sum of money to move on, with her life. Under all attendant circumstances, it seems a fair resolution of this particular matter. If any of you have any questions.
I have two questions.
Sure, Commissioner.
One, I just want to be clear, what is the specific wrong that's alleged against the Police Bureau? And then separately, based on this incident, what steps have we taken to try to prevent this from happening again? So what's the specific wrong, and then how will we work to prevent this from happening again?
False arrest was the claim because you've arrested the wrong person. I immediately try and work proactively never to have anything happen again. I've been working with the fingerprint technicians who are criminalists with the Portland Police Bureau. And I actually asked, how often is there a mix-up in fingerprinting, even nationally? And the only case that I can come up with after speaking to them is, we probably remember this, we had a lawyer from Beaverton who was accused of being involved in the terrorist bombing in Spain when an FBI technician actually misidentified a fingerprint. And that seems to be the sole fingerprint error. But the real way that we do tell people is by looking at fingerprints, as these are individually done. Technology's becoming involved now too. Iris scans, there's a series of new ways that the FBI is working on trying to sort of double check things as well. And in this particular case, I asked our officers, if all these identifiers match, how would you solve the problem? And they said, it's fingerprints. And they actually gave me cases where I'm arrested, I'm Jim Rice, and I go, I'm not that Jim Rice, and they will take people to Multnomah County Jail, they fingerprint, they find out it's the wrong person, they'll take them home. So there's no absolutely positive way it would never happen again.
Was she not eligible for a bail hearing in Multnomah County because they weren't issued in another county?
Correct, and they actually tried to get her out, and Jefferson County has, I guess, a different attitude than we might have, because this is a misdemeanor theft case.
Why did Multnomah County just release her on her own recognizance with a requirement that she report to Jefferson County?
I can't really answer. I think Multnomah County would have to answer that, but Jefferson County was adamant that she not be released.
Well, then just, I guess the last question is, we had someone that through a regrettable series of errors spent a week in jail, but we're also having to provide services to someone in jail who is completely innocent. Why are we on the timeline of Jefferson County in terms of transportation? Why doesn't Multnomah County simply have a rule that if there's another county that wants someone to be transferred, they have to make arrangements within 24 hours?
I don't know that, but
Because it could be, you said it's a weekly shuttle.
Yeah.
But it could just as easily be a monthly shuttle, or maybe it's an annual shuttle. I mean, why does Multnomah County accept that? Why don't we have a rule that says, within 24 hours, that person has to be moved? Because in effect, what you're doing is delaying by 1 week their right to have a bail hearing to determine initially that there's a mistake, which any other defendant in Multnomah County would have the right to do.
I think it's a great idea, maybe a funding issue. I can tell you this, when we met with Justice Leeson, the head of the jail was there, and they were trying to figure out how do we never have this problem happen again. They had someone really high up in the sheriff's department.
Can I make one suggestion? Again,
Absolutely.
We don't run the jail system, but
No.
we do have things called video conferencing. We do have other avenues.
Sure.
And my guess is that had a judge been presented with this case and her side of it, it would have given pause, and she probably would have been eligible for bail.
She actually contacted 2 different lawyers in this case. Her family on the outside was not particularly cooperative with her, but she had a criminal defense. First of all, she had a domestic relations lawyer It's kind of a complicated matter.
We don't have to go into that. I'm just.
Sure.
I think I'd like to hear what, in terms of lessons learned, and the police officers, after all, were executing what they thought was a valid warrant.
Correct.
But in terms of lessons learned and how the Multnomah County and Jefferson County court system handled this, I think we'd like some additional information on that.
Okay, yeah.
Because in a regrettable set of circumstances like this, it doesn't make sense that someone has to wait a week in a Multnomah County jail simply because there's a problem in transporting them to the place that has jurisdiction. That seems grossly unfair.
I think you're completely correct. And actually, the video conferencing idea is really good. I'll follow up on this, and I'll talk to the Multnomah County Attorney's Office and ask him to speak to the jailer about that, and I'll report back to you on that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Does anybody wish to testify on this item? Okay, I see 2. 3 people, okay.
Let me go first?
I was going to start with Dan, but Dan's deferring to you, so go ahead. You go first and give us your name.
This
Give us
issue
your name.
of
You got 3 minutes.
the police use for warrants, I think, is the only time the police should really be able to detain you if you're violent, you're a threat to the community or something like that. If it's a theft issue, why don't somebody just arrest this person some other time? It ties up a police car to drag him down here. Unless this person is a threat to other people, I don't like the Portland Police Department used to apprehend people. That could be done at other times, find out where they live and then do it then.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner Saltzman and other commissioners. My name is Dan Handelman. I'm with Group Portland Cop Watch. I came down here this morning because the limited information in the agenda item online didn't make it clear what the other agency was that had misidentified this person. I'm glad to hear that the city attorney is identifying Jefferson County very loudly and repeatedly. It would be very helpful to post the paperwork. The court paperwork is public record, I understand, when it's filed, and it would be great to have that online so that we could learn those things without having to come down to council. And my initial reaction to reading the description said that Ms. Eggleton's name was attached to her FBI numbers in the law enforcement data system. And so I suspected that this might have something to do with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, because as we've had that discussion over the many years, we talked about how, in violation of Oregon law, the FBI has much lower standards to suspect somebody of criminal wrongdoing, and that they might put somebody into a database with the help of the Portland police who are now working with them, and that person can never get their name out again. So I just want to, you're saying, I'm glad Commissioner Fish asked, how can we stop this from happening again? I think we should be very wary about these multi-jurisdictional identification systems, and especially working with the FBI. It's pretty clear they're not involved directly in this case, but this is a good time to think about that again. Remember, the JTTF got rejoined last year by a 3-2 vote. We have a new police commissioner coming in, and I'm hoping that you'll all think about revisiting that one more time. I also want to say that, I'm glad that it was also explained that the $15,000 was a small amount of money about what Ms. Eggleton is going to receive, because it was a very huge violation of her rights, and the city attorney should explain that the other agencies are probably going to pay out more than that. It has come to our attention, and we watch the city council agenda every week, that there haven't been a lot of lawsuits about the police coming before you. Most of them have to do with car crashes lately. And we're not sure if that's because a lot of them are being entered as judgments. And I understand there's a lot of ones that are being settled for $5,000 or less, which means it doesn't have to come before you. It would be great, especially because it's part of the the DOJ agreement, to have some public explanation of all the lawsuit settlements that have happened, judgments, whatever you want to call them, anything where money's been paid out because of police wrongdoing, so that the community can look at that and see what's going on as, in terms of patterns. And finally, with the last 30 seconds, I just want to say, I'm sorry nobody from Cop Watch was able to come to your hearing Monday night about the IPR and the changing of our review system. I want to repeatedly ask you to please slow down this process. Stop trying to rush it in before September 7th. There's too many unknowns, and there's too many people who are opposed to you taking these hearings behind closed doors, and we want you to delay that. And in the meantime, everybody here except Commissioner Fritz needs to replace their members of the Community Oversight Advisory Boards. They have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. West, you have 3 minutes. Give us your name and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Robert West. I'm from the police 911, and I want you guys to think about if you were on a public street and a police officer came up and said that he had a warrant for you and arrested you, and you spent a week in the Multnomah County Jail, and then you were transported to another county, and you spent a couple days in that county jail. What would that be worth? What, the loss of work, the embarrassment, having your name put in Busted magazine? What is that worth? Is that worth only $15,000? This lady suffered a lot. And, you know, you can sit there and say, well, yeah, she was in the FBI system or whatever. But the thing is she was arrested for a crime she did not commit. And it's the police, every officer should work to make sure that he arrests the right person. And that's what I wanted to bring up to you guys. Is what if this were to happen to you, would you be happy to settle for $15,000?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. West.
Commissioner Saltzman, I forgot to say, one of the things the police ask people when they get arrested is, what's your date of birth? And I don't understand why the date of birth wasn't identified as this being the wrong person. Thank you.
Okay, this is an emergency ordinance, so please call the roll.
I was going to speak to you.
Oh, okay. Give us your name and you have 3 minutes.
So my name is David Keefe Davis with Multnomah County Cop Watch, separate from Portland Cop Watch. But basically, inmates make the county about $200 a day. So it seems that about almost $1,500 was made off of arresting this person falsely. And I'm pretty sure that they knew that they had the wrong suspect, and then they just shipped her off to the next county, because I don't see how it could be all that confusing, and having a week to go over all this with the inmate repeatedly saying she's the wrong person. And I agree with Nick Fish that, you know, we shouldn't even be housing inmates from other counties or other jurisdictions, and they need to actually have a hearing quick so they can clear their name if there is any stuff like this, because obviously the justice system is totally flawed. And also, you know, this person on a minor theft charge to waste so much money and resources is kind of ridiculous in itself. And I think that, you know, a lot of the reasons that there's a lot of problems in the world is over-policing, you know, and dealing with stuff like this instead of dealing with stuff like child sex trafficking, which Portland is #1 for, you know. I mean, the reality is there's about as much money spent on parking enforcement as there is on child sex trafficking, and that's just going around writing tickets for cars that are parked in the wrong place. So, you know, you guys have these mixed up priorities to begin with, and then they result in stuff like this, because the whole justice system is a rotten, bloated, corrupt corpse. Okay? So why would you try and revive a rotten, bloated, corrupt corpse to begin with? That, you know, you guys need to reform the toxic justice system of America. And, you know, you want to act like you're progressives, well, then do something progressive, you know? And how about this? How about give her an extra $15,000, an extra $30,000, because $15,000, that's not worth a week in jail, you know, eating bologna sandwiches and being losing your job or whatever else might have been
Okay, thank you.
that happened to her.
Okay, Carla, please call the roll.
Novick,
This is really awful story, and although the city's involvement obviously was relatively minor, I'm happy to vote aye.
On behalf of the city, I apologize to Ms. Eggleston for our portion of the damages, and I appreciate her willingness to settle for this amount. Aye.
Fish,
I appreciate the city attorney who came forward and gave us the whole background on this. I think it was important. And we had a couple of people testify about, is our portion satisfactory? And the reason that I'm going to support this settlement is that Ms. Eggleton was represented by counsel and chose to go to mediation, where an experienced mediator helped the parties apportion responsibility and come up with a number. And mediation is a voluntary system. No one is required to follow the outcome of mediation. But if Ms. Eggleton and her attorney believe this is an appropriate settlement, then I think it's our duty to affirm it. Aye.
Saltzman,
Aye, the ordinance is approved. Please read item 907.
authorize revenue bonds for the reconstruction of the Portland building.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick,
Aye. Sorry.
Aye.
Fritz,
Getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Aye.
Fish,
I want to thank Fred Miller and his team and all the folks who've been working on this complicated project, and we're making progress. Aye.
Saltzman,
Aye, ordinance is approved. Carla, could you please read items 908 and 909 together?
908, authorize application under the multiple unit limited tax exemption program for 17th and Kearney, located at 905 Northwest 17th Avenue, and 909. Approve application under the multiple unit limited tax exemption program for 17th and Petty Grove, located at 1331 Northwest 17th Avenue.
These projects are both multi-projects, which encourage private developers to include affordable units and other public benefits in their projects, and participants receive a 10-year exemption from the property taxes due on the newly built structure. Both of these projects are located in Northwest Portland. The first project, located at Northwest 17th and Kearney, will feature 139 apartment units mixed with ground floor commercial space. 20% of the project, or 28 units, will be dedicated to affordability to households at 80% of median family income, which is well below the market rate for that area. The second project is located at Northwest 17th and Petty Grove and will consist of 117 units and will also include ground floor commercial. 20% of the project, or 23 units, will be dedicated to affordable units at 80% of median family income. The developer for both of these projects is Holland Development, and they have committed to specific strategies to promote equity throughout the development and are working with consultants to achieve a 20% minority women emerging small business participation rate. I want to thank Dory Van Bockel and Andrea Mathiasen, who manage the limited tax exemption programs. Andrea is here if you have questions. Okay. No questions? Okay. Does anybody wish to testify on 908 or 909? Okay, seeing none, these are both
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're not emergencies. Okay, those both will move to second reading. And then could you read?
Nice job, Andrea.
Yeah, nice job. If you could read 910.
Amend towing code to allow immobilization of vehicles to give owners an opportunity to pay outstanding parking fines before a tow.
Second reading, vote only, please call the roll.
Novick,
I really appreciate what I think is my colleagues' support of this change. As we discussed last week, many years ago, the city made a decision to tow rather than boot vehicles in order to get people to pay their back parking fines. And I think that we need to revisit that because the point of towing is to get people to pay their back parking fines. Booting is effective in that respect as well. and towing imposes an additional $168 fee, and which I believe is unnecessary and also very stressful for people subjected to it because their car disappears. There might be valuables they have to access immediately that they can't. So I think that in this, as in other areas, we should have penalties sufficient to get people to comply with the law, but there's no need to have excessive penalties. And of course, although a $168 unnecessary penalty is bad for anybody, particularly for low-income people who might have a hard time paying their back fines, period, adding an additional $168 is even more problematic. So really appreciate council's willingness to accept this change and appreciate PBOT's work to prepare for implementing it. Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Well,
Saltzman.
I appreciate Commissioner Novick, you bringing this forward. I do think the boot will have an enormous impact on people who see the boot on a vehicle and think about maybe unpaid parking fines they have, and will be encouraged, I think, to settle up because nobody wants to come out and find a boot on their car. Aye. Okay, the ordinance is approved, and we will move to item 911.
Authority and criteria.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Ordinance is approved. 912.
Authorize a contract with the lowest responsive bidder for the construction of the Southwest Terwilliger Sanitary Sewer Extension Project number E10413 for $3,800,000.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Fish.
I want to do a special shout out to Scott Gibson and his team for the excellent presentations that they make here at council on these projects, and I'm pleased to support this item. Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Ordinance is approved. 912.
913, authorize.
913, sorry.
Authorize intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County in the amount of $54,000 for services related to the construction of the Southwest Terwilliger Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Extension Project, number E10413.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Mr. President, before I vote, I just want to note that we have a World War II veteran who I don't know if he wants to speak to us, but I would hope he'd be able to if we can allow that. Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Okay, the ordinance is approved. 914.
Authorize an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Lake Oswego for reimbursement in the amount of $78,800 for the construction of sewer facilities as part of the Southwest Terwilliger Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Extension Project, number E10413.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Okay, ordinance is approved. 915.
Authorize a permit with Multnomah County for construction of the Southwest Terwilliger Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Extension Project, number E10413 for $2,500.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Ordinance is approved. 916.
Authorize a contract with the lowest responsive bidder for the construction of the Humboldt Sewer Rehabilitation Project, number E10564, for $4,980,000.
Second reading, vote only. Please call the roll.
Novick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye. Ordinance is approved. And let's now go to the polled item, 899.
Authorize an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Gresham for the City of Portland to conduct transit lodging tax audits of Gresham hotels on behalf of the City of Gresham.
So I understand we have a Mr. Scott Carter here for this item. Is there? Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Come on up. Welcome. If you just give us your name, and you each have 3 minutes.
They're from the Bureau.
Oh, you're here to, oh, I'm sorry, you're here to, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I thought you were here to testify.
No.
Okay. So, do you want to give us a brief overview of this? Did you want to testify on this item, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Are you Mr. Carter?
No, my name's
Mr. Carter
Charlie
works for
Beck.
the city.
I build affordable homes, you guys aren't building them.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, so we'll take you after this item, okay? We'll give you 3 minutes afterwards, if you wouldn't mind just,
That's all I got is 3 minutes.
that's all
I
you get.
think I met one of your little girls.
So is there anyone here to object to this particular matter?
Mr.
Objecting to
Lightning
it?
pulled this item.
Okay, so let's
Okay.
let them. Okay.
Okay, well, give us a brief overview, and then we'll hear from the public.
Okay, I'm Scott Carter with the Revenue Division. The purpose of the IGA is to have the City of Portland, who has a dedicated hotel auditor, and the City of Gresham does not have a dedicated auditor, that we would do a pilot project where we would audit several of their hotels on a pretty small scale basis, and then based on the results of that project, we would look at maybe doing something in the future. And the City of Gresham would reimburse us for our costs. They have the need, we have the bandwidth to do this. It's an example of good government, and it benefits the part of the taxes that would be audited would also potentially go to Multnomah County, which would provide services to Portland residents as well. So it's just it's something we've talked about doing for a long time, and we've just finally gotten to the point where we can actually test the waters and see how it goes.
You want to add anything? Or?
I'm Rhonda Etherly. I'm the auditor who would be doing the audit.
Oh, you're the auditor, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, well, welcome. Okay, thank you both, and we'll have Mr. Lightning, Mr. West, come on up. We'll give you the last word, sir, after these two people testify.
Okay, thanks. Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Watchdog PDX. One of the concerns I had on this is that it'd be my understanding that Gresham would have their own auditors. And by this agreement, we're only going to be paid like $5,000, my understanding is, but we're also taking on a lot of liability as far as if we make mistakes. Why don't we have Gresham use their own auditors, take their own responsibility on this? And another concern I had on this is that it said several hotels. Is this going to be like a selective enforcement of just certain hotels that maybe Gresham doesn't really like, and now we're going to do this audit, which will open up all their records, and to kind of just go over them with a microscope? Because I noticed it just said several hotels. I'd almost like to see a list of what hotels they're deciding to do. What is the reason they're picking these certain hotels and the owners of these businesses? And to have a clear understanding, because the way I would see it is that you'd want to audit all the hotels. You'd want to go across all the hotels and look at this situation, but it said several. So I'm a little concerned if that's going to be in a selective enforcement type situation. Another issue I have is I wanted to make it very clear from my position, does this go into accessory dwelling units? Does this also go into the Airbnb situation as far as on lodging taxes? And I wanted to have a clear understanding on that, on how far they want to go. Is this going to open up the books on what Airbnb does as far as on the type of business they run? And to make sure that the lodging tax or the transient lodging tax is being paid. So again, I just had some concerns on this, on how far this is going to go. And again, I always hate to get in the situation of Gresham when I think they can handle this themselves. And it just kind of mystifies me on why we would have to do this for Gresham. I think they're more than capable of auditing their own hotels and doing the job that needs to be done here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. West?
My name is Robert West. I'm with Filmville Police 911, and I agree with Lightning. We shouldn't be putting our people in Gresham to enforce Gresham regulations, do audits in Gresham, when we got hotels here that we got to see. You know, I think it's a waste of our time. I think it puts the city in a huge liability. What happens if the person goes out there and gets into a traffic accident and they say it's the city's fault? Gresham's not gonna pay for that, we'll pay for that. What happens if, one of the audits are off and the hotel sues? You know, so that's my issue, is you'd be putting the city in a huge liability, and what's Gresham gonna do? $5,000 a month? Well, if you guys get a $25 or $100,000 judgment, what's $5,000 a month for? You know, it'll take a long time to pick that up. I think what we need to do is let Gresham do their own audits. And Gresham should enforce their own laws. And as far as the audits of the motels and stuff anyway, I feel that that's 100% wrong, but that's my personal opinion. I believe that if they did anything wrong, then it would fall under the Fifth Amendment of self-incrimination. And that's what I got to say.
Okay, thank you both. Sir, if you could just give us your name, and you have 3 minutes.
The name is Joe Levesque. I'm from Camas. I've been out for over 10 years. It's the worst 10 years of my life. I used to know this country when it was a free country. You people think you're running a free country here. You're not. I spoke to the FBI last week for a whole half hour. I went to the county commissioner meeting yesterday in Clark County. I told them that what we should have, and I'm including Oregon in that because Oregon's part of the problem. Oregon and Washington are both in the same boat. My background is affordable housing. I built homes for over 200,000 people. I generated over $200 million worth of tax revenue. I believe in the free enterprise system. I believe that we should have a federal grand jury investigation on what the hell is going on in Oregon as well as Washington. You people have problems out here. I spoke to a state legislator last week, and I told him, I said, you don't have to go to school to be a politician. All you have to do is learn how to scratch somebody else's back. Basically, that's about it. But anyhow, I come from the state of New Hampshire. Live free or die. Hey, I lived through the Depression. Those were tough years. You people think you have it tough now. It's going to get tougher. It's not going to be easy. We're living on borrowed money right now. We're living on an extra $10 trillion that we're living on. There's not one politician that I know of that showed you how to pay that back. I've got solutions to some of that stuff. Hey, I study that stuff. I know what's going on. Let me tell you what's going on to this community, this country right now. I've got 3 kids that went to state universities. My kids have been brainwashed. They have been indoctrinated. What happened to them is the same thing that Joseph Stalin used in communist Russia, the same thing that Hitler used in Germany. They brainwashed the people into believing what they wanted them to believe. I'll give you guys some free wisdom here. You go to school to learn what you don't know. When you go to school, they teach you what they want you to know. But when you get out of school, you learn what you have to know. And what you have to know is what they made this country. These guys knew what they were doing. This is a great constitution. I'll die for what I believe in. Now, I don't know what you guys can do. I had trouble coming up here. This town has room for improvement. There's 4 things you need for affordable housing. 4 things. Who's in charge of building? Are you in charge of building?
I'm in charge.
You are. There's 4 things you need. Are you ready?
Yep.
You need land. You got plenty of land out here, but the people don't want you to build. The homeowners aren't bitching. The realtors aren't bitching. The homeowners aren't bitching. The landlords aren't bitching. Hey, everybody's up. Everybody's excited.
Hey, Mr. Levesque, your time is up, so
I know my time is up. It's still a free country. I thank you for letting me talk.
thank you very much. Okay, thank you all.
But let's do something about it because I want a federal grand jury investigation of what's going on. I met with your lady and I had a good talk with her.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, and thank you for your service.
Right, gee, I'm no hero, I'm just a survivor.
You're a hero to me.
Thank you.
This moves to a second reading, and we are adjourned until next Wednesday, August 10th.